Okay, good morning. This is day 71 of little videos to describe some sane thoughts in the day in the life of Schizophrenic Dominic. I have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and I contend that it is an infliction based on political technologies and digital technologies, high tech, highly advanced technologies uh, being utilized upon me. And I describe little thoughts I have in a day in the life of me as a schizophrenic, perhaps to expose this program after I die, or, maybe while I'm alive. Day 17 and day 45 of these videos, I describe why I make these videos and why I describe myself as a targeted individual rather than, uh, why I describe myself as a schizophrenic rather than a targeted individual. And I have posted my book on my pinned posts on my social media accounts, Facebook, Blue Sky, and uh, in the bio sections of Threads and Blue Sky and Facebook on the pinned post. And those day 17 to day 45 are also on the pinned post of those websites as well. Well, all right, so I'm going to get into little ideas. Little ideas here, and I was going to start off with the Ides of March. There's some sort of dark, nefarious, energetic force that harasses me in March oftentimes, and it's even done in conjunction with the NCAA tournament. And for a long time, they harassed me in the NCAA tournament, and it's kind of sick. Like, they get college students to participate in it, like they're super cool college students or something. Like going after the old guy or something. Or like the pathetic little guy or something. And it's like yeah, so this is part of the Omniwar, and so it's instructional for people. Like, they get for a long time it was heavy harassment during the Obama years in particular. And yeah, so it was like some sort of ritual thing or something like that. I don't know. They call it, a lot of people call it satanic ritual abuse, but during the Ides of March it gets really going. And uh you know you think something out of line with whatever. It basically, what I see is going on is you have like fascists in the Elon Musk and Trump or whatever, but it's also fascism on the other side, and it's like a duopoly. And that's what I was going to get into here for a second. And Trump is like reverse psychology. He's part of an austerity plan that's part of the duopoly, in my opinion. That's what I think. I think if the Democrats wanted to oppose Trump, you would have had a primary against a feeble 80-year-old Biden, and probably you would have never, once you knew that Trump was going to be running for president, you would have never opposed Bernie in the first place. You would have supported a Bernie run, and as he was getting people on board with him, and they opposed that. They squashed that movement because I personally think Trump and Democrats ran what do you call it? Asymmetric or something. I think that's what it's called, but like asymmetric war on what Bernie was proposing. And maybe even what Bernie was proposing, if you think about it, like on our system, maybe it can't work because we have to have a totally new economic system in the world. And maybe that's what everyone's come to the conclusion, and we're just seeing the dismantling of the government. So, I'm hoping that this duopoly plan for austerity that Trump is ushering in, I don't think it's going to work. Like George Lucas said when he made that statement in 2012, he said, rule by the rich, it's not going to work. And, it's going to create some sort of huge backlash, and society is going to disintegrate, and we're going to see it fall apart. I'm hoping it does turn into some sort of like civil war dystopia, I don't want to live through a civil war. I I've always looked at that around the world and been like, oh my god, that would be totally insane to live through a civil war. And so, yeah, so I think this austerity plan is likely part of the duopoly. And if the Democrats had opposed Trump, they wouldn't have. If the Democrats had opposed Trump, they wouldn't have not run in a primary against an 80-year-old Biden who his brain was not functioning well, and to as well enough to run the country, and well enough for an 80-year-old, that's pretty good, but to run the country, no. And so, you didn't run in a primary, and now you're telling me that we just have to support you. And I think it was all part of like a backlash against Bernie. Like once people started saying like, hey, once people started looking around in like the 2000s and started saying seems like a lot of bullshit that we've been fed for a long time here. And they started saying we started rebelling against it a little bit, and Bernie even called his movement a revolution. And people started getting on board with that, just like on a whole collective aspect. People had been opposing for a while or whatever, but like on the whole, I'm just talking about on a collective uh, scope. Uh, People started saying this is a bunch of BS that we're being fed here as our system, and now that has been swallowed up by the Trump thing, where they're like, yeah, it's all those federal workers who make up 4% of the budget or something like that. But it's like supposedly the problem is the federal workers. That's what Trump is trying to say. And uh, yeah, so people started saying that this is a bunch of BS that we're being fed here. And now, because we had that feeling, I feel like the PR people that run the duopoly are saying, like, you ingrates will take away what you had and will show you just how ungrateful you are. And so supposedly we're supposed to come together and say, no, no, give us what we had. We love it. And we're so thankful and everything. And that's what they want people to do when Trump is. So that's what I'm hoping is not what's going on, though, because I'm hoping like maybe we're gonna go to like a totally new system when what Trump does doesn't work. But I don't know. Maybe the country is just totally insane. It's hard to, when you have the Omniwar. It's hard to gauge just where everybody is in the country because nobody shows a lot. Most people do not show their true colors. Most people are playing a role. It's like surveillance role player. So, yeah. All right. So I started a simulation of the multiverse book, and maybe that's part of this reality that we're experiencing here. Is there's a multiverse and people are trying to manipulate the multiverse through this universe, and that multiverse is manipulating this universe through there. And I'm just getting into it now, but it's a very interesting idea. And Marvel's touched on it, and it's in cinematic universes and stuff like that. So I think there's something to it. I definitely experienced deja vu and things of that nature, and just like there's some sort of when you're deep into your life, there's some sort of no like I think I'm on the wrong timeline or like something seems off or whatever, but maybe this is like the sacred time. You don't know. Like it's hard to know exactly what's going on, but I think there could be something to multiverse, and I've read a lot of like I've not read a lot, but I've read like Michio Kaku and stuff like that, parallel worlds and stuff. So I've read a little bit of just a small amount. I find it interesting. Okay, so I'm reading that book and I just started. And all right, I was reading my baseball book about Yankee Stadium, and they were talking about the rowdy fans at Yankee Stadium, and if you sit in the bleachers and stuff and wear opposing gear, you'll get harassed or whatever. and they say just to laugh it off. And if you wear Red Sox gear, you're gonna get a lot of vitriol. And I was thinking, like, I don't. That's something I don't really like about sports aspects of it is like the tribalism of the fans or whatever. Like, I know there's people like to do the good fun, like razzing the fans or whatever, and like, uh, maybe I find it like an immaturity or something involved in it. Like when people get like they get like they start insulting a fan. Like if somebody goes to a game and they want to root for the Detroit Tigers at Dodger Stadium, I don't think they should be subject to a barrage of abuse by fans. And I guess that comes with the territory. It's like it's one of those little human cultural things that we do or whatever, and it's like a little fun thing. But I don't like it, and I just like why can't people just show up to stand? And there was an incident a long time ago in the Dodger games where like the Giant fan got beaten to death because they came to a Dodger game in a Giants uniform. It is just like, man, like people are just crazy. Like, yeah. So I don't even like the little bit of teasing of somebody. Just let people have their say or whatever. And like for the most part, that's what happens at the games. But there's still like these fans that take it way too seriously, and like you see these like NFL games where fans are fighting and stuff like that in the stands because they have opposing uniforms on or something, and it's just like they want to be gladiators in this field or with the teams or something, or I don't know, they never got their fill or something. So I don't particularly like razzing fans of other teams or whatever. Maybe I I guess it's a maturity thing. Like I don't know. So yeah. All right. So I was thinking today the Matrix, and I was thinking of Matrix and everything like that, and I actually I think I'm supposed to be Agent Smith, and I'm a mashup with my cousins and Keanu Reeves and stuff in the Matrix, and it's weird because you digest things as a regular person, and then you digest things as the schizophrenic. Like I say, like I was Dom in the movie Inception and things like that, Leonardo DiCaprio and Titanic and stuff. And Matrix, so mate tricks. You're mating, the tricks of mating. And so that kind of gets you into this like notion of like when you're in the Matrix, you're being subjected to all these mating tricks. And so like, so supposedly you're like, you know, uh that's what that's what's going on with you in like that's how they control people is through mating tricks. And yeah, so like I know that like I said before, like they're oftentimes trying to set you up with people, but it's kind of like fake or whatever. Like I go to the store and they're like they have a woman there in the store, like, oh yeah, this woman is into you or something, or just anywhere, or like, and it's like it's fake. I'm not going to talk to this lady at the store, like, what it's just like it's kind of like fake or whatever, or like they say something like, oh, this woman is making their way back to you or something, and it's like, anyways, so like mating tricks. I'm in the Matrix. It's the Matrix. I think that could be relevant to what the Matrix is all about. uh okay, so I was going to talk about the Bagarakan conference. It's the Biurakan conference, and it's about the UFO conference that happened in the Soviet Union in 1971, and the Americans were coming in to cooperate. And the Americans were supposedly jealous of the Soviet Union scientists because they didn't have peer review and things of that nature that was hampering their search for extraterrestrial life, and they had a more robust search for extraterrestrial life because they didn't have people checking them and saying like, no, that's stupid, or like diminishing what they were trying to proposing to do. And so I thought that was interesting because like we just take peer review for granted, like it's like some great process, but like maybe it's in some respects it's not that great. All right, so I gotta stop here. Thank you for listening to me today, and it's been 15 minutes. Goodbye.